Hey y'all, welcome back to the Jump Off. We have part 2 of our Kanye/political discussion. One thing with Kanye West that is important to me to think about when I think about him in any space is the mental health issues that he deals with. He had like a mental breakdown on stage during a concert, and then it was revealed that he has bipolar disorder. Anybody who is dealing with any type of mental issues, this discussion here is not to like alienate anybody or say anything toward any specific, if you want to call it an ailment, because I feel like it's not an ailment. These are things that all go through everything. Reach out to somebody. This discussion on this topic is just to enlighten people that you may not be yourself 100% of the time. I watched a few interviews with like Jimmy Fallon, and just listen to him speak. Now, I also have mental health issues, so Kanye, I understand. Publication that came out a couple weeks ago that was saying that people in his camp were concerned that this was another episode, if you will, of the bipolar and how he gets super passionate about something, and this could be an episode for him. And I also find fault in some of the people that were around Kanye when he was doing whatever and then went back and was talking about him. Like, if that's your bro, if that's your guy, help him out, see where you can help him. So I do want to read a couple of things that Kanye has said in the past that I was just like, brother. He has said some things like, when you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. On that same kind of bit, he said, that's how they control the black community, through emotion. They get us excited. We're so excited. But then for 400 years, the change doesn't truly happen. But brother, I thought it was a choice. All right, anyway, I think everybody has some type of struggle that we all go through. Kanye's mental health, do we want to speak on that?
So I have a family member who suffers with bipolar disorder, so I know what it looks like, and I also know how hard it is to find a medication that works for you, because for a long time it kind of feels like it dulls you and just kind of makes you a different person. And Kanye's pretty vocal about how he doesn't take medication. I don't know if he does now, but he's pretty vocal about not taking medication. And I personally don't, just because I've seen it up front and I see how much it helps to be on medication, I kind of feel like that's a bad message to be sending. But I also understand how he has like this genius brain when it comes to like music, when it comes to design, business, fashion. Like, this guy made sweatpants fashion. Like, we should have a statue for him just for that. But I understand why he like doesn't want to take medication. Like, I also think it's an interesting conversation if anybody else wants to chime in. But I definitely think that it can be dangerous to be like, I'm off the meds and I want to run for president. So, people are going to perceive it differently.
I don't like to take medication, I don't know, because I don't know what it's really doing. But I have been prescribed medication for depression. When you do take it, it does have a different feeling. So I understand your concern with that. But what did get me was that he knows when he's, I don't want to say having an episode, but it was interesting to me that he could identify, my high is this high and I know that this is how this is happening.
I think that to the point about his accountability and as well as having episodes, that moment that he had in the Oval Office where he spent, I forgot how long it was, if it was 5 minutes or 45 minutes praising Trump. Trump ate it all like a goldfish in a in a bowl. I just would wonder what it was like after the fact, what his thought process was afterwards, given what we know about this president, and given that Kanye basically went on a tirade on live TV praising Donald Trump, I genuinely do hope that he had a moment where he reflected and realized how much damage and carnage this guy has caused since he's been in office. But that being said, at first I thought it was an episode in regards to his 4th of July presidential announcement. But thinking about it while we're talking, for all I know, he may have been caught up in the moment or is thinking July 4th is the time to really get that kind of patriotic oomph back in our country. The problem is that you can't do that when people are basically protesting the institutional systemic racism that our country, propagates. You need to see eye to eye with what people are saying, not just what the guy who says white people are getting killed by cops says, as Trump said in an interview the other night. And in a weird way, it kind of sums it all up. And I pulled this story up from, oh my goodness, it's from 2018, where in 2015 he collaborated with Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney was doing these interviews and people were asking him about working with Kanye, and he said that some people thought that Kanye discovered Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And Paul McCartney was like, that's not a joke. To quote Nicolas Cage as a Beatlemaniac, that's strange. And that's something I would go back on and be like, Paul McCartney is part of the greatest musical group of all time. I didn't tell you guys that he was brand new or just getting started, but given that I never heard anything come after that, would that be a debate question?
Ryan, I'm so confused on what your point was.
The point I was getting at was that in regards to his announcement and whether or not that may have had anything to do with him potentially being bipolar, I would be inclined to lead away from that only because I could genuinely see him think, given the fact that he has, pardon the pun, a very holier than thou kind of brain and a very intelligent brain at times, I think I could see him look at everything going on between the protests, a lot of the racists coming out of the woodwork to make their case regrettably heard, and also the fact that we're dealing with a bloody pandemic. It seemed to me like maybe he was trying to develop some sort of new patriotic, Kanye-infused kind of oomph to put back into the American psyche, but maybe that could translate to an album coming out this year, which has been a rumor I've heard consistently, that his presidential announcement was his way of saying, I got an album coming out soon.
Yes.
So I'm kind of leading away from the bipolar disorder, not ruling it out, but that's kind of my take on the whole matter.
Yeah, I just feel like what are the limits of what bipolar people can and cannot do? Like, I'm just curious, if any of our family members are on some sort of a medication, we want them to be off it. Like, when are you ever asking your parents to be on their medication? Like, yeah, sure, when they're like, life depends on it, but if it's like something that they can like handle with like exercise, or like just something that like doesn't make them foggy, just some sort of a routine or a practice, like that has to be better than taking some pill. In my opinion, I know that sounds a little rough.
I agree.
Like our bodies, like we can heal ourselves,
Okay,
and these pills for depression and bipolar, they haven't been around for very long, and it's only now it's like every 6 months there's some news article about how there's some like breathing technique that can like boost your immune system. Like breathing can boost your immune system, like just like stuff like that. Like just air can heal us. That's insane. But we're gonna judge this guy because he's not taking these pills. It's just like it just seems confusing to me.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that if you're aware of it, then you know how to deal with it. And like I can say for myself, I know what are my triggers, and I think he has an understanding of that.
I was just gonna say, specifically when it comes to Kanye West, or like a presidential candidate, one thing that I would want and I would need to see is a full kind of like understanding and comprehension of themselves when it comes to their mental health, particularly with Kanye, because this is a job where you can't just run away. It's one thing to be on Twitter and like you go through like an episode, like something happens and then you're able to just step back, you go away. You can go to an island resort and make an album after a month. Like you can find your outlets. But specifically when you're dealing with the office of the president, that's a job that is 24/7, 365 for 4 years. And there is no, all right, I can't do this anymore. Like you walk away from something, there's an issue that is affecting people worldwide. Which on the same flip side is that we've seen Kanye act very, I don't want to say irrational, but sporadically, and will be off Twitter, will have no communication for months. with just the general public, his fans and things like that, and then be on Twitter for a few weeks and then he'll disappear again. Or he'll have a rant about something. As the president, we've seen what happens when you just fly off the cuff. Like, the decisions that are made are lasting. This is not like, something that can be easily reversed. If you make a decision in your first 4 years, if you get a second 4 years, in your first year of your first 4 years, that's a 4-year, that's a process to overturn that, relationships, international relationships can be ruined. Look at the Paris Accords. We pulled out of the Paris Accord, climate change,
the World Health Organization.
Exactly.
But we're leaving that in July of next year.
Right.
And Biden could bring us back in if he wants.
Well, go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Or I was just going to say, it could be a moot point were Biden to win. He could say, listen, Jack, we're going to wind up back up in the World Health, I'm out of time.
Out of time.
Right.
That's exactly
Joe Biden.
There's no way Biden's going to do that. Biden isn't going to reverse anything Trump is, because Biden's going to die on Inauguration Day.
Wait, what? If Trump made it 4 years.
Pretty much, I feel like my point was kind of about, I would need to know, because, these decisions are everlasting, and you can't just walk away very sporadically or, not thinking, or just, in the heat of the moment. Well, you can, but just understanding that these are consequences to your actions, especially when it comes to that office. And specifically when it comes to Kanye West, I would need to see consistent actions, consistent showing up, being able to weather the storm, because you can't just run away. Because let me tell you something, the president runs away and cuts off all communication, Lord, and you're going to leave it in the hands of Kim?
Hold on, wait a minute. Chris.
I said what I said.
Hold on.
I said what I said.
I feel like he would make her VP.
Chris.
Those VP's like some pastor in Wyoming, which I don't think he asked if she wanted to do it. He's like, there's this great pastor in Wyoming. I'm going to have her be my VP. It's like, did you ask?
Listen, Kris Jenner whipped that whole family into an empire. If she is navigating Kanye's boat, I might pay attention. I might show up at a rally just to see, in the back corner, just to see what's happening. Now, Javi, you talking about running and hiding. Kanye didn't find it favorable that Trump ran to the bunker. He was done with... Oh, that's not funny. Y'all, the conversation is still heating up. We're going to come back for another part to this. Be sure to follow all of my guests